Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. I feel like I'm ready. All right, welcome everybody. The final day, 2024 Florida Area Convention. I want to personally thank you all for coming out and supporting this fellowship that helped save my life. It's been a wonderful weekend, and I want to thank the committee, everybody who had their little hand in helping getting this thing put together, man, because it's been a tremendous success. Thank you, everybody. And most of all, I want to thank you all for showing up and helping us out here. Really help, and love you all for being a part of my life. All right, we're going to get this thing started. I want to introduce my great friend Tiffany up to the stage.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Tiffany, and I'm an addict. All right, thank you all for coming out to this 2024 Florida Area Cocaine Anonymous Convention, High Road to Freedom in Fort Myers. As we come to a close of this incredible convention, I want to take a moment to reflect on all that we've witnessed and achieved over the past few days. Pause. Let's reflect. Okay, we're good. Reflection good. We have a couple of things to go over. I need to do the anonymity statement before we introduce the speaker. Anonymity is one of the most important issues in the structure of Cocaine Anonymous. Therefore, in observance of the 11th tradition of CA, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity in the level of press, radio, television, and films. We earnestly request that all those gathered here honor this condition of anonymity. In keeping with our traditions, we request that no photographic or video recording of the convention be distributed, published, or downloaded in any general public forum, including the interest and or any other electronic communications network. We specifically request that members refrain from posting on any social networking site any convention photos or videos which identify any activity, entity, or person as being associated with CA. If you should happen to recognize someone here who identifies themselves as an addict, please keep that knowledge strictly to yourself. Let's open up this meeting with a few moments of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Cocaine Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from their addiction. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using cocaine and all other mind-altering substances. There are no dues or fees for membership. We are fully self-supporting through our own contributions. We are not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. We do not wish to engage in any controversy, and we neither endorse nor oppose any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay free from cocaine and all other mind-altering substances and to help others to achieve that same freedom. We use the 12 steps of recovery because it's already been proven that 12-step recovery program works. And I have asked Deanna to come up and read We Can Recover.
Hi, my name's Deanna, and I'm an addict. We can recover. Welcome to Cocaine Anonymous. We're all here for the same reason, our inability to stop using cocaine and all other mind-altering substances. The first step towards solving any problem is admitting that there is a problem. The problem, as we see it, consists of an obsession of the mind and an allergy of the body. The obsession is a continued and irresistible thought of cocaine and the next high. The allergy creates an absolute inability to stop using once we begin. We wish to assure you that there is a solution and that recovery is possible. It begins with abstinence and continues with practicing the 12 steps of recovery one day at a time. Our program, the 12 Steps of Cocaine Anonymous, is the means by which we move from the problem of drug addiction to the solution of recovery. We admitted we were powerless over cocaine and all other mind-altering substances, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Cocaine Anonymous is a spiritual program, not a religious one. In CA, we can believe each individual can choose a higher power for his or her own, in short, a God of his or her own understanding. No one comes into Cocaine Anonymous to find God. We came into these rooms to get rid of terrifying drug habit. Look around this room. You are surrounded by people who came as a last resort. We came into these rooms emotionally, financially, and spiritually bankrupt. We have experienced all sorts of tragedies as a result of cocaine, drugs, and or alcohol. We have lived many of the same horrors you have, yet today we're all free from the misery, terror, and pain of addiction. Maybe some of us were worse off than you. Maybe some of us didn't hit as low as a bottom as you. Still, the fact remains that those of us who are recovering have come to believe that a higher power of our own understanding can restore us to sanity. There is a solution. We can recover from addiction. One day at a time, it is possible to live a life filled with hope, faith, and courage.
Okay, I'm not going to do any more readings because I want to get to it. I have asked Danny M. to come up and introduce the speaker today. The speaker's lovely husband, longtime partner, would like to come up and say a few words.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danny McNeil. I'm an alcoholic. It's been a real joy being here this weekend. Thanks for inviting Melody, and Melody, thanks for inviting me. I've been so blessed to have this woman in my life. She's just a great example of what this program is all about. The love that she shows these women. And she never gives up on them. Her life is devoted to this practice, of this 12 steps. And what better example to have in your home? How fortunate am I? And from the time I met her, that was the first thing. Well, that and the jeans she was wearing, but the first thing, one of the first things that I noticed about her was her passion for this program. Honestly, and her passion for, the relationship with God and what God had brought her through, and I'm so happy that God gave me you. And so anyway, that's enough of that. But thank you guys so much, and I guess now you can just give it up for Melody.
To make me cry right in the beginning. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Melody, and I'm an addict. My sobriety date's January 6, 2001. From here, Fort Myers. I grew up, born and raised, Lehman Memorial Hospital. I came from a normal family, I guess. They weren't alcoholics. My parents didn't even smoke cigarettes. And I was the firstborn, and I have one younger sister. So I can't say I was exposed to anything. And I can't blame it on that. I remember in middle school, I had a pretty normal childhood. In middle school, I just started feeling different, like self-conscious, and like I was different. And all my friends that were in honor roll kids, And back then, they were calling everybody nerds that was smart. And by the time I got to high school, I started looking for some different friends, and I found one friend that her parents, like mine, were really strict. My dad was military, and he used to make us go to bed at a certain time. No boys were allowed at our house, stuff like that. And I went over and spent the night at this one friend's house, and we got to go to the skating rink, and we got to stay out all night, and we drank Mad Dog, and we hung out with boys. And so I started spending the night at her house all the time. And we started skipping school together. And then my parents, of course, grounded me, and I ran away and stole their car. And that started the whole process. They put me in rehab, and I was a juvenile delinquent. I stole 2 of their vehicles. I came to Tennessee in my mom's Thunderbird when I was 16, I believe. And I went to juvenile detention for the first time in Knoxville. And that was... I guess I've been trying to get to Tennessee ever since, and I finally made it, but that's where I live now. But it just, the more they were strict on me, the more I rebelled, and eventually by the time I was 17, they're like, just go. You're not running away. We're not going to call the law. You could just go. You know, they were just done with me. And I dropped out of school in 12th grade, and, you know, at this time I'm tripping on acid, I'm smoking weed, I'm drinking, you know, I snorted a little bit of powder, but I couldn't afford that stuff, you know, at 17. And, but, you know, I met some guys that were selling it and out of this house, and then I wanted to meet the head guy. And about that time when I was 18, I got a settlement because I was in a stolen car with these guys, and they sicked the dog on us when they were not supposed to because we were already laying down surrendered. When we hid in the woods, we came out to surrender because we heard the dog. Oh, I forgot to bring my water up here. Thank you. And so this was, I had just turned 18. And some of these people that were with me were 17. So this was my first experience with real jail. I surrendered. I got bit by the canine. They took me to Lee Memorial and stitched up my leg, and they drew on my hospital gown, "Ike was here," with paw print. The cops did. And they were all laughing, and I was drunk, and I was cussing them out. And I went to jail, and that was in my property. And my mom was a legal secretary, so she said, you have a case. My boss is a lawyer, and he said that we can sue the sheriff's department. And so I did, and it took like 2 years. So at 19, I all of a sudden had, you know, like $10,000 was their first offer, and I was like, I'll take it, you know? And right about that time, I had just went to jail. When I went to jail for that was my first time in big person's jail. And I got into this illusion because I was like so popular in there. Like all these OGs were like calling me canine, you know, they had to take my crutches away. I had this big like cut on the back of my leg with stitches, and I was like the coolest person in the jail. You know, and I was playing spades with the dope dealer, like the OG, and she's like, "You don't smoke crack, do you?" And I was like, "Oh no, I just snort." So I was cool to her because she just sold dope, and I was instantly in, and I just felt like I was home. I don't know. I fell into this illusion, like all that stuff was exciting, glamorous. Stealing the cars, storing the coke with, you know, $100 bills, and then people are just leaving them in the bathroom like their $100 bill and pocketing it, you know. It was all glamorous and exciting to me at first, you know, and I saw those hoes walking down by Fort Myers Inn and Deluxe Inn and all that stuff, and I was like, they're barefoot, they're dirty. I was like, that's disgusting. I will never smoke crack. You know, I was like, I only snort, and I sell powder, and I bought me a Camaro, and I had me a pink beeper, and yeah, this is way back. And I was driving, and I was selling powder just so I could get my own, you know, and I thought I was cool, and it was all glamorous at first because I can drink all night, and I don't do those embarrassing things and have to hear the stories about me blacking out and what I did when I was drunk, because now I can drink all night, and I don't get any DUIs because I just snort some powder, and then I'm awake, and then I can drive. So I was using it to control my drinking, basically, which I didn't realize, you know. I didn't realize that at first. And I did not realize that I had no control over where I was going to go from that point. And it progressed so quickly. I ended up getting pregnant when I was 19 and getting a DUI because I was waiting on the man to bring me some stuff, and I didn't get it in time, and I'm driving away crying, and I'm drunk, and I got a DUI, and I was like 9 months pregnant. I was not cool in jail that time, no. But I ended up violating that, so it just started. I was going to jail a lot. It started. And I tried to move away, to get away from the powder. I went back with this ex-boyfriend. He's like, all you got to do is smoke weed and drink. And he's like, we can move back to Colorado, where I'm from. And he's like, you can get away from the coke, and we can go back there, and you'll be all right. And so I moved with him. I was like, okay, that's what I'll do. And I'm 21, and I moved to Colorado with him. And, I just started doing meth or whatever I could find there. I end up being the biggest drunk because I don't have the cocaine to control my alcohol. I end up wrecking his car, cheating on him with a cook and then someone else, and I don't remember. The cook was at my work, and I don't remember. I just woke up next to him, and same story again, the demoralization, and I don't remember what happened, and I did meth up there, and then I'm begging my parents, please send me a plane ticket. I got to come back because he kicked me out. And I remember walking down the street in the snow, I'm begging this one guy, I'm like, can you please take me to a homeless shelter? And I thought he was going to take me home with him because that's usually what happened, but he actually took me to a homeless shelter. So it didn't work. And then I'm with all of the homeless guys, they're like, well, we're going to the bar at 7 a.m. when they put you out, and I'm walking with them. I'm like, okay, I want to go there too. And I just fit right in there. The only reason why I wasn't under a bridge is because I'm a female. That's the only reason. And whenever I came back, it was just a series of events that made the progression start to get even worse. I didn't have my daughter. I was supposed to send for her and bring her up to Colorado once I got on my feet, which I never did. So my parents still had her. And as soon as I came back, and my mom let me come back home, and my mom got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And it was so rapid. My grandma Garza died, and then my mom got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And all I could do was think about me. I didn't think about them having to take care of my daughter and my mom. I didn't think about any of the rest of my family. All I thought was, I can't handle seeing her like this. So I would take off, and I would get drunk and get high even more when she was going through this, because she started turning into a vegetable where she wasn't herself anymore. And it was only a few months, and she passed away in November 96, I think it was. And that's when I was out, and I started doing these things. I'll never sell myself, but escort service, that's different, And I lied to everybody. I'm not really doing anything. They're just paying me to hang out with these men, And that was the only way so I could afford my coke, because I started using more and more. And then this one guy, he just got a $50,000 inheritance because his dad died. And my mom had just died, and it wasn't you, it was before you. The first one with the inheritance. And this is whenever it kicked off, because he's like, well, we can't get any more powder. All we can get is crack. And I always swore I was never going to do it because I had this boyfriend crawling on the floor, swearing he dropped a piece one time. Then he robbed me whenever I went to sleep. And I'm like, that stuff's disgusting. I'll never be a crackhead. But I'm like, fuck it. I'll try it. And it's not that different, right? It's just cooked up. And it was on because this guy's money seemed endless. It only took about a month and a half to go through $50,000. And in that time, we were smoking $1,000 a day, switching motel rooms about 3 different times because this one, they're watching us in this one. We got to go to a different one. And it was just insanity. The guy would get on my nerves so bad because he would start accusing me of being a cop once he got high. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm seizing all your stuff. Give me all your stuff and your money. I am a cop. And when I first got on the streets, they actually did think, everybody thought I was undercover because I was so clean cut and everything, and they were always like, you're not a crackhead, you're not really one of us. And I'm telling you, by the end, people were so scared of me that they were paying me just to get out of their car. And they weren't accusing me of being a cop no more. at the end, all I have to say is this was 4 years. Most of the time I was either in jail or I was staying in a one-level crack motel or in a crack house or on a guy's couch with a little baggie, Walmart baggie, maybe with a toothbrush and an outfit in it. And that was my life, and it became normal. It just happened so fast. When that man's money ran out, I might find another one that had just got an inheritance or a settlement or something, but I was not that lucky most of the time. I was out there walking on the street, barefoot. As a matter of fact, I remember one time some girl stole my shoes when I woke up. I shared my dope with him, and then I woke up, and I had to walk barefoot at checkout time. And it was the same thing every day, like checkout time. Oh, no, I got to start all over. And I'm dead broke, and I have nowhere to go, you know? And this was just endless, and it became the normal life. When I went to jail, it was like a family reunion. It was like, oh, hey, girl, you know, and all the guards knew me. I'm like, just get me out of this holding cell, get me upstairs, you know. And they all knew me, and it was like my second home. And I had to do 11 months one time in county for paraphernalia because I violated probation with paraphernalia because I would never throw that thing out. Like, I just did not want to give it up. It was... no matter what. And I would get caught with like these tiny little crumbs that I would hide and I got 2 felonies from that, you know? I got 2 felonies from hiding these small little pieces of crack and getting caught with them. But it was just insanity. And I remember like, I would have moments of clarity. I remember walking down the street, just wondering what I was going to do. I was out of dope and I'm just walking and I had no idea what day it was ever because, I mean, the days ran into weeks and the weeks ran into months. People would be like, oh, it's Halloween. I was like, oh, I thought it was like August or something. And I guess it was Sunday morning because I was walking by this church trying to figure out how am I going to get money, whose house am I going to go to, and they turned their kids' heads away from me because I'd been up all night and I'm sure my makeup was smeared. I was dirty, slutty looking, and just limping down the road like the Walking Dead. And they turned their kids' heads because they were standing outside the church, and they kind of turned them where they couldn't see me, you know? And since I was forced to be sober, since I was coming down and I was desperate to get high and blot all this stuff out again because I couldn't stand to be sober in my own mind, you know, and realize what my life had become. And I just wanted to die, you know? It wasn't fun anymore, you know, but I just went ahead and I just got high as quick as I could, you know, and I just kept trying to blot it out. And I somehow got charges in Tampa because I ended up, some guy that was buying dope from Cuba Street he's going to Tampa and he's bought a lot. So I got in the car with him and I went to Tampa. And when he ran out, I was doing the same thing there. I found the same streets. I found the same motels. I was doing the same thing there, so I got arrested there. I was on probation there, then I violated here. So they put me in the paddy wagon, and this whole time's a blur. I don't remember what happened. I served my time here, and that was when they were putting the women in the hot stockade with no AC. That was not fun. That was awful. You had to shower like 5 times a day. But I was so glad I was going to Hillsborough because they got headphones there. They got ramen noodles in Hillsborough jail. So they took me in the paddy wagon to Hillsborough County Jail, and during that time, I went in there a couple times. I got sentenced to this 30-day treatment center, and it was way out in Tarpon Springs, was just like an island off of St. Pete somewhere. I don't even know how I got there. They took me in shackles, I think. So it was only 30 days, and it was in there that the seed was planted because they started bringing meetings to us. And I remember purposely ignoring the AA meetings, like, no, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just going to drink a couple beers and limit myself to 2 beers when I get out. And I would try to ignore it, but something got planted, you know, in there because then on New Year's Eve, I had 1 week left to graduate, and they were going to drop all my charges, adjudication withheld from this felony possession. They were going to drop it down to a misdemeanor. And I was going to go move in with my aunt in Fort Lauderdale, and I remember I was excited because they had a fridge full of beer in the garage. all different kinds. And I'm going to be like her, and she just slowed down when she got older, and she limits herself to 2 drinks. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to live with her, and I'm going to go down there when I graduate. Because my dad didn't want me around. So on New Year's Eve, this guy's like, I'm sneaking in some beer. He's like, we're going to meet in the woods over here, and we're going to drink it, and then we're just going to go in our rooms and go back to sleep. Nobody will know. And it was a pretty laid-back place, like, because I was having sex with 2 different guys. They didn't know about each other, and they didn't really watch us closely. And so it was, we went on New Year's Eve, on his visitation. His girlfriend snuck him in some beer and like a little skinny bottle of vodka. I don't know how much that is, like a pint, I don't know. And it was only like a 12-pack. And I saw him telling other people, and I'm like, dude, there's not going to be enough. Don't tell nobody else. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm already calculating. There's 2 of us. I'm only getting 6. I'm going to have to chug that vodka. I'm going to try to get 7 if I drink them fast enough. And now you've got 3 other people. I'm only getting like 2 or 3. No way. And so we went in the woods, and I chugged them like a pig. And they're all mixing the vodka with, like, they took these orange juices from the kitchen. And I was just like, let me see that. And I killed off the whole thing. I didn't care. They were all getting mad at me. I was like, I don't care. I'm not getting a teaser buzz here. And then they're like, okay, now you got to get in your bed. These other people, they're like, go to sleep. And I start packing my suitcase, and I'm like, oh, I'm probably already busted. And they're like, no one's even seen you. Just go to sleep. Why don't you try to get in the shower and sober up? And I was like, no. I mean, because that phenomenon of craving kicked in. I had no idea what it was at the time, but it still wasn't enough, and I had to leave. And I had no money, so I was going to trick the cab driver. 45-minute drive to Tampa. I was going to jump out of the cab, once I got to Tampa in the hood and get high. Because I didn't know that much. I did start to see, like, if I drink, I want to smoke crack. Like, that was my breakout in smoking crack, and then breakout in handcuffs. It never failed, every single time. So I proceeded to go to Tampa. I was like on a 5-day binge. Something was different because that seed was planted. Something was different. I tried to ignore those meetings. I tried to ignore how good I felt for just being clean for 30 days in this place when I didn't even really want to be. But some of those Joe and Charlie tapes that I was trying to ignore, something said, maybe you're an alcoholic too. Maybe you can't drink, And what have I done? And I'm sitting there crying over a plate full of dope. I have some guy like, hey, do you get high? I have him come in my motel so I won't be alone. I'm getting high with him, and I'm crying. He's like, you're going to blow my high. And I'm like, well, get out. It's my dope anyways. I invited you in here. I'm going to cry if I want to while I'm getting high. And I ended up I don't even know if I said a prayer, if I just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't even think I could pray at that time. But the next time I went out to go get more money, I mean, at this point, I'm just capable. I'm just basically trying to use just to OD. I'm just trying to use just to blot out everything, because now my head won't shut up, and it's not really working. It's not really shutting my head up, no matter how drunk or high I get. And I tried to lay in front of cars before and get run over. I've tried to I've had so many seizures where I've fallen out. People give me CPR. What's the chances of that? Most of the time they steal your crack and leave you in there to die. And this crackhead gave me CPR and brought me back, But I ended up getting arrested and going to jail for prostitution that time. And it was only 5 days that I was out of that treatment center, and I had an absconding charge, and I had a violation, but those charges hadn't even caught up yet. Like, they hadn't even put the warrant on me yet, and I got a new charge. So I was like, I'm going to prison for sure. And but when I went to the jail, it was just totally different. It was like relief. It was like relief this time. It was just like, thank God it's over. And I just laid down on the floor in booking, and I just slept. And I knew I had to call my aunt, so I called my aunt, and I did not stop manipulating or get turned into a saint just because I was forced to go to jail. So I'm like, I just want to kill myself. Please don't be mad at me. I left that rehab you were supposed to pick me up at next week, and now I'm back in jail. And so I'm probably not going to be getting out for a while. And she took me seriously and told the jail I was suicidal. So then they put me in a napkin dress, and they put me in the lockdown cell with no sheets because you might hang yourself, no silverware. They push your food through the little hole in the door, and in there is where I surrendered and just like, God, if you're there, I don't know if you are, I can't do this anymore. Like, please help me. I don't care if it's a year-long, 2 years long program, whatever. Do something with me. And I was honestly scared of myself at this point. Like, scared of myself. That was my step one. I don't trust myself anymore. I'm going to get myself right back in here. I'm going to get myself. I'm not going to be lucky enough to die. I'm going to be one of those lifetime jail people. And I saw some when I was in there that are in their 80s still getting arrested for prostitution and crack and still going to jail. And that scared me more than dying. That scared me. That life, like, for that long, like, I can't do it. And so I just said, please help me. And I end up getting next to this bunkie that we go to meetings together. We go to the AA meetings in jail, and I start writing the person I have to write in Hillsborough County to get in front of the judge again. And I go in front of the judge, and I was like, Your Honor, I think I just maybe can't drink that. Maybe if I go to AA meetings and I get a longer program, I can get help. You know, I think that I can't really do anything safely. And I just said that, and he sentenced me to this place called the Goodwill Treatment Center in St. Pete, Florida. And I end up in there. It's 6 months long. They made us get a sponsor. They made us get a job. I'm like, I don't know how long it's been since I worked. And I didn't even really work that long when I did work. Even when I was just drinking, I was like calling in sick and no call, no show and leaving all the time. So for 5 years, I had no job. I just hustled. I just lived in the streets, you know, and stole and all that stuff that you do. So I got a bicycle and I got a job at Bob Evans the first time I was honest. And I got this sponsor that actually picked me. So I know God picked her for me because she was really tough on me and I could not manipulate her. And that's who I needed in the beginning because I could just manipulate anybody. You know, but I could not manipulate her. She was the first person that could see through me and see through my BS. And I remember I just started working. I was like, I'm kind of tired. She picked me up every single day to take me to a meeting. Every single day. There was other people's sponsors that were picking them up like 2 days a week or 3 days a week. My sponsor was there every day, and I would get there an hour early and have to stay an hour late. So some are sicker than others. That's how I ended up in CA. That's how I ended up with that lady, because God knew. And the first time I had just started my job that she came there, and I told my roommate, I had 11 women in my room there, and I was like, no, I'm too tired. Just tell her I'm too tired. I just started working. And she came, my roommate comes back in there, and she's like, your sponsor said you were never too tired to get high, get your ass in the car. So, and I honestly, I get so mad at her, but I get up like, you know, and go get in the car. And almost everything she would tell me stuff like, you know, because I was like, I had all these bright ideas when I was new. Like, I got to get my daughter back. I got to go to college. I got to get 2 jobs so I could save to get my apartment, to get my daughter back. And she just shoot them all down. Like, you don't have anything to offer your daughter right now. She's like, you need to get a foundation in recovery. You haven't had your daughter for 4 years. She doesn't know who you are. Your parents are her parents right now. Like, you have to do this in God's time. You can't push this on her. You can't be selfish about this. You have to think about her. You know, and that kind of stuff hurt, but I needed to hear the truth. I needed somebody to love me enough to tell me the truth, you know. And I remember having to put that in God's hands and taking that back, because so many times I was like, I know I can make this happen because I'm a hustler. I can make it happen. I can get $1,000 of dope a day to stay high all the time. I can make anything happen, you know. But sometimes, you know, what Raphael was talking about this morning, I got to learn to stay out of God's way because I'm going to mess everything up when I try to make things happen. So that was the hardest thing for me to learn, you know, to get that step one. I knew I was screwed. I knew that. You know, I knew I was powerless. I knew my life was unmanageable. There's no doubt about that. I was scared of myself. You know, I thought maybe God could because I saw him do it for you guys. You know, and as a matter of fact, the first time I got hope was when somebody from St. Pete, CA, came to my treatment center and told my story. She told my story because I thought, well, I'm worse than all these people. I didn't even want to tell any of them that, I used to prostitute, because there's people in here that I always lied about that when I went to rehab. I was like, oh no, I sold dope. I never wanted to say stuff like the embarrassing stuff, like the real stuff, the level I got to in front of those people in rehab. I wanted to impress them. And I just had to let all that stuff go the last time to get help. I just had to be real. I just had to tell the truth. And this lady just laid it all out there. Like dirty drawers, tricking, living in motels, going to jail all the time. I was just like, how could she talk about that stuff? But that was my story. That was my story. I think I'd go 5 days without a shower. I was disgusting. I'm sure that's why that guy, he's just like, here, take the money. You can get out of my car. I was like, oh, I got a new hustle. I was like, this is easy. I probably looked so scary. Like, I had nothing to lose. At that point, I'm capable of murder. Who knows? Who knows what I'm capable of? I can't judge somebody and say, oh, I would never do that. I know. Like, if I pick up again, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. So it was that third step. It was trying to stay out of God's way, trying to do his will, which my sponsor, I go, how do I know what his will is? She's like, the opposite of your will right now. In the beginning, it was, but the goal is to align our will with God's, right? That's the goal. The longer we're sober, it's like, okay, I had this thought. I still run these by my sponsor. I had this thought. I want to help this lady, and I want to do this. And yep, if it's about helping somebody, it's probably from God, and my ideas are starting to more align with God's will now. But, I remember memorizing that third step prayer, and that's when it hit me that this isn't about me. Because I was trying to break it down line by line to memorize it, and it was like, so that I can help others. This isn't about me. That's why God saved me. I was supposed to be dead. This isn't about me. This is about the next person. And I was so grateful, that I wanted to get to that point where I wanted to do my 4-step then, because I was like, I want to be able to sponsor people, like my sponsor's doing for me, like every day coming there to get me. And then as soon as I graduated rehab, I started that 4 and 5 because she wouldn't let me start that 4 while I was in there. But I graduated. I was scared to graduate, okay? It's the first time I've been scared. I was like, I got like 8 months. I waited 2 months in jail for a bed, and I was in there 6 months, and I'm graduating. I had this place to go with my rehab romance, But, I told my sponsor about it, and she made us go to separate meetings. So that was her thing, is I had a separate fellowship. I had to be with her and the women, and I couldn't mix the meetings with him. So that worked. Anyways, what I was saying is when I was memorizing that prayer, and then I did my third step on my knees in this rose garden of a Catholic church or something. It was so beautiful. That's all I remember. I was outside in this rose garden, and I memorized it. And then she started me on step 4. And that was just the most revealing thing to me. Like, I knew I was a piece of shit, I knew that. I knew that I was probably, like, most of the names were going to be people that I hurt. There was a couple on there that hurt me. But one thing I didn't realize was how scared I was, because I thought I was this tough street girl, this gangbanger. I'll run from the cops. I fought men all the time when I was drunk. Like, I wasn't scared of nothing. And when I did that 4-step fear inventory, I was like, I'm terrified of everything. I'm terrified of people. I am so scared of responsibility. I'm so scared of what people think. All this tough ego, all this stuff was a defense mechanism, and I'm just a scared little girl, And I don't even know how to handle my emotions. I'm crying all the time. I'm laughing, like belly laughing over stupid stuff with these girls. Like, emotionally, I was probably 14 years old, And I did I did not even do my 6 and 7, because the thing about that St. Pete home group, they were hardcore about sponsorship, and I was two-stepping. I was like, I got this. I'm going and grabbing as many sponsees as I can, and she's like, well, I'm not on 6 and 7 yet, so you'll get on that after I go through it. Well, I had about 3 years of doing that. I was still crazy. but I was so busy with service that, I didn't have any time to be in here. That's the only thing that saved me. I didn't have a lot of time to be up in here. But I moved down to Fort Myers when I had 3 years because my dad said, hey, I was getting my daughter on the weekends. I was meeting him in Sarasota. And I was getting her on the weekends. And he's like, hey, I think you should move closer because I don't think I want to raise another teenager. I think, because in the beginning, at first, he was like, I don't think you'll ever get your daughter back. And I kind of resigned to that, and I was at peace with that because he's like, she's been with us too long. But after getting her on the weekends and all that, and she started getting, I think she turned 10, and he's like, he's starting to see the teenage years coming up, and he's like, I don't think I want to raise another teenager. Why don't you move back here? And we could try and see if it transitions and let her decide what she wants to do. And so my boyfriend did not want to move with me because he just started getting to see his son. And I did not want to leave my fellowship in St. Pete. I'd never had friends like that my whole life. And that's where I built my foundation. I was so scared to move here. And I moved here, and all I remember is like, I got to get sponsees. I got to get a sponsor. And I was way out in Alva staying with my grandma, trying to get an apartment. And everybody was like, background check, credit check. Nope. 3 years recovery. Still have 2 felonies. Still have no credit, okay? It took me a long time to get on my feet financially. But, so I met Sue because the Tough Love group was taking a meeting into Salvation Army. And I met Sue and these amazing people that were sponsoring people, and I went to Tough Love group, and I was going to AA like I did up there. And then her husband, Sean, and he's like, hey, you ever hear of CA? I was like, no, I don't do the other fellowships. I'm a big book thumper. And he's like, well, great, because we use the big book. And he's like, we need some women with time over at that CA meeting. And I was like, I don't know. Are you sure? I'm like, is it about the solution? Because I've been to some meetings where they're just like group therapy, talking about the problem and, And he's like, no, check it out. So we go there. I go there, and my mind was just blown the first time they read Who's an Addict. I mean, I was like, they're talking about crawling on the floor in the reading. Like, no way. And there was only 4 of us on picnic benches at the Cape Coral meeting. And then I went to Straight with No Chaser, and we got Tammy and Trina and all these hardcore ladies, like so raw, just telling these newcomers, like, you have no idea what you're doing, you don't know anything about recovery. And it's like, yes! They sound like my first sponsor. That's what they need. They need that tough love. And Dennis, and I remember it was at the Dixie Detox on Dixie Street or Dixie Road. I was in that detox once. I signed myself out right away. I was like, I think I overreacted. I had alcohol poisoning. I was like, smoking crack up for 2 weeks. Okay, I can leave? They're like, yeah, and I signed myself out. But thank God I was forced. I mean, when I said that prayer, I remember surrendering in jail. When I was in that isolation cell, I just said, please do something with me. And God did. Like, I can look back now and see everything in my story happened for a reason. My first sponsor, why I had her, and then when I met Sue and I came down here and I didn't know how to have a relationship because I had met that boyfriend in rehab and he left me, so I was crazy. So I started dating all these guys, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just on the rebound. And Sue was like, pray for God to pick one for you because your picker's broken. And why don't you try to stay out of a relationship for let's do 1 month at a time here. Try 1 month, and go and help somebody. So I'm going to Salvation Army to get sponsees. Like, I need sponsees. Come on, I'll sponsor you. Get in the car. And I'm going to After the Rain, and I got them in my trunk. I'm like in the hatchback of my car. Like, we can get you in. Come on, get in. And I'm just running around, two-stepping. But I started doing the rest of the steps with my sponsor, Sue, and I started growing. And I met Danny. God picked one for me. He didn't even kiss me on our first date. And I'm like, I think he's gay, or he just doesn't like me. He just doesn't like me. And she's like, maybe he's a gentleman. And what is that? Like, I never even went to prom. I never went on a date. I was just... get me a 12-pack and I'll be on your tailgate with you, like that was high school for me, it was like, then I'm hearing the stories, and that's kind of why I dropped out, because I'm hearing the stories and the embarrassment, and, I never went on a real date until I met Danny, and I was 29 years old, 29 years old. 3 years sober. And I was still crazy. I was still angry. And, then he's got his 2 kids back, and we move in together a couple months later, and he's got his 2 kids. I get my daughter back, and it's like, whoa, this is where it gets real. This is where it gets real, man. I'm this angry person at home. I'm helping all these women. I'm seeing these miracles when I'm at the rooms. I'm this peaceful person. And I'm at home and I'm yelling at my kids because they're fighting and they're wrestling. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I can't. It was so hard to try to bring this home. I had to do these steps again on my kids and my husband. I've done several 4 steps, it's more will be revealed. The path gets more narrow, but I'm like, I got to get rid of this because I need that joy again. It's like, we're not done when we just go through the steps. That's just barely scratching the surface, and when I take someone through them, I'm going through another level and I'm seeing so much more. And when I'm sponsoring someone and I'm telling them something that profound that comes out of my mouth that I feel like God is speaking through me, it's like, that's something that I need to hear. And it's like, wow, I should be doing that, what I just told them to do, And it's so cool how that happens. And then I go through my steps again, and I'm like, I don't think I'm really angry at that many people. And once I start writing, I'm like, wow, I should have done this last year. It's been too long, a year too long, and I've had some lows in my recovery. I've had a foreclosure, with 7 years sober, we lose our house because of the foreclosure thing that was happening in everyone's jobs. I lost some cleaning jobs and my husband's pay got cut. And I just remember at this time we're youth leaders in my children's, in our church because our children are in middle school and they're in youth group. So we were actually youth leaders. That just still blows my mind. We were helping with the youth group. And so we had to miss a meeting on Thursday. I was going to St. Luke's, and I had to miss a meeting because I'm like, they want me to be part of this youth group at church with the kids. And I was trying to hold it together for my kids because I had a sign on my door saying I have 2 weeks to get out. And I'm freaking out. I'm losing it. I'm in fear. And I got there to the church early before youth group started, and I just got on my knees and I said, I just remember taking this breath like I didn't even know what to pray, and I just said, I trust you. You have something better for me. And the minute I said that, and I said, thank you, the minute I said that, I felt all the fear go away, and I felt this peace. And I was like, that's it. I just need to believe. I need to just believe it. When I pray it, I need to believe that it's going to happen. And we had, before that, we had a landlord that was willing to rent to us, even though I still had the 2 felonies. My credit wasn't the greatest, especially with the foreclosure on it now. And we got to rent this house on the water with a pool, and then they gave us $5,000 if we didn't steal the AC, and we swept out the house. So I was like, okay. My dad's like, well, there's somebody selling a jet ski in my neighborhood, and we just blew the whole $5,000 and bought a jet ski, and the kids thought, we're moving up in the world. We got a house with a pool and a jet ski. They had no idea, and we didn't even freak out about it, and we were able to hold it together for the kids. And then we were able to buy a house a few years later, like a house on 5 acres in the country. And that's the way it's always been. Whenever I trust God and I do this work, He takes care of everything for me, and we got called to Tennessee. It was like we were praying about it. We felt like we wanted to move there, and we were praying about it, and everything happened so fast that we ended up moving there a lot sooner than we thought we were going to, and everything kind of fell into place. But then we're there living in our camper for 10 months on our property because we couldn't sell our house here. It took us quite a bit to sell our house here, a few months, but it felt like forever. Before we could put a house on our property there. And we're living in our camper with 2 big old dogs that shed. And one of them has gas. And I'm having to drive an hour to Chattanooga to work for a real estate company. And I'm just getting resentful, I'm doing all their stuff. And all they're doing is going out and talking to people and selling real estate. Must be nice. And I'm like, maybe I'll give it a shot. But I'm not a real social person, So it just, I look back on it, it is like God lined everything up, because there's no way I would have had the money to buy the halfway house, the house that we use for a women's halfway house now that's a nonprofit, and all these women are here because of that, because there's nothing in Tennessee. There was nothing in our section of Tennessee in between Chattanooga and Knoxville because it's the country and there was only these Christian rehabs and they don't let them go to meetings. So I was like, they need somewhere safe to go, where they can get introduced to these meetings like I did. Somebody needs to hear a message like I did and see that this fellowship is here to love them right where they're at, like they loved me, and so God just did all of it, and it just blew me away. I didn't know why I was there. And there was no women at the meetings. I mean, I went to so many meetings before I saw my first women. I mean, it was like 3 weeks I went to meetings. And I'm like, where are the women at? I'm asking, like, I drive to Chattanooga or Knoxville. Like, I got to drive an hour. And they're like, oh, no, try this Etowah meeting. There's 2 ladies there that have 35 years. So I found a sponsor. And then it was like I was going into the jails and I'm going, they're all begging me, is there anywhere we can go where we can go to these meetings when we get out? Because I can only go back to my parents who get high or my boyfriend that gets high. And it just God put it right there and told me to do it. And I was like, no, I was always talking about people that start halfway houses and how they relapse. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. God's telling me to do it. And it's like, okay, we'll do it this way. And have this board of people that's all in charge of it, not just me, because I don't want it. My ego is too easy to get blown up. I cannot be in charge of something. I have to delegate. I have to have people helping me, and I can't be in charge of it. It's not mine. It's God's house. That's what I always say. It's God's house. And everything was provided for it. And that was just another level of faith, another eye-opener that was like such a growing experience to watch, where we're sitting in the living room. All we need is a new bathroom mirror. Someone knocks on the door. Oh, I brought this mirror. And I'm not even lying. Like 2 seconds later, the community was all bringing stuff over, like bunk beds. We didn't buy one piece of furniture. We had every single thing provided, down to the comforters and the sheets and the pillows, to the bathroom mirrors, when that house opened. And it was like 2 months from when we bought it. It was like, to watch God work like that, like, how can you deny that this thing is supposed to happen? It just blew my mind. And I don't know, I just try to stay out of God's way still, which is still an all-day thing for me, because my little mind starts scheming and, I should do this, I should do that. And I had a little bit of a humbling experience. I got beat twice at spades the other night. So I'm like, I just don't got it anymore because I've been out of jail so long. But I don't get mad anymore. I mean, I used to flip the table playing the Monopoly with Danny and the kids. They would gang up on me. And I flipped the table and threw it one time. Like, I'm making so much progress. I'm so competitive. I'm not that spiritual, but at home I'm starting to get better. Like, I really am a lot calmer, and my sponsees will say stuff like, you don't understand, I'm just an angry person. You're so calm and peaceful. I'm like, talk to my first home group. Talk to my sponsor, Sue, about her having to pray with me, her having to come over when I'm like, I want to run away. I can't handle these kids. The one is throwing a tantrum, the other one's banging his head in the wall, and I'm like, I can't do this, I'm going to get drunk. I just want to run away. The hardest job is being a housewife. I love that shirt. You can't turn a house into a hoe into a housewife, but CA can, right? Well, I don't want to be a housewife. That is hard. I was like, I'll go to work, you stay home. Now that Danny, we're both real estate agents, but he doesn't really work that much. I'm like, well, you can take care of the grandkids, you can do the laundry and stuff, and I'll go make the deals, because I can't handle it, man. I'm not that great with kids. I just am not. But with my spiritual babies, with the addicts, that's where my gift is. That's where my gift is. I don't judge them. I just love them where they're at, and that's where God wants to use me, in the trenches with the new ladies. And I just love it. It just fills my heart, gives me purpose. That's my primary purpose. That's the most important thing I do. What I do for work, money, all that stuff, like what Ryan was saying, it's not an issue anymore. It's just like, I just want to be able to give, if I do want money so that I can give, because that's where it's at. I want to be a philanthropist. That's my goal. I want to be able to pick things to give to. Like, that would just be the most awesome job ever. So I don't know. I'm so glad you guys, I have to say, like, CA, this next generation, like, watching y'all take over You younger people, you are on fire. And I mean, I couldn't be more proud of what CA is turning into here in Fort Myers. And watching it grow from 4 people on that picnic table in Cape Coral over the years, you know, from us just going into treatment centers, H&I, you know, and one stays sober like every month. And then they get sponsees, and then they get sponsees. And there's like just so many new people here. It's awesome. You guys really have a good thing going here. I miss everyone here so much. I don't miss the heat. I don't miss the traffic. I don't miss the expenses down here or any of that. I love being up there in the country without traffic and all that, but I miss you people so much, and I just want to keep coming down here and seeing you as much as we can, and we're going to try to get y'all up there. So I love you all. That's all I got.
Woo. All right. Make no mistake about it, guys. That woman right there has affected more of you than you probably know. The ripple effect is the real deal here, guys. And I know from experience there's probably about 75% of the women in this room have been directly affected by this one woman's sobriety, okay? Anybody that's in my lineage, and men too, I mean, seriously. You know, anybody that's in the lineage that we have, I mean, is directly affected by Melody in one way, shape, or form, and it's an awesome thing. I always use her as an example when I'm speaking, you know, don't ever give up. You know, 23 arrested in jail 23 times in 8 rehabs, right? What if she stopped at 7? 75% of the women in here's life would be different, right? That's the effect that we have, and we have the opportunity to make a difference. And guys, use it. Use it up, because it is powerful. It is absolutely powerful. And if that testimony doesn't attest to that, then I don't know what else does, you know? Thank you for the opportunity to serve. This has been an awesome convention. And I guess we're going to close out with the Serenity Prayer, please. So, thank you, Melody. Thank you. Oh, I forgot about the book. Sorry. All right, let's have a moment of silence for still sick and suffering, both inside and outside of this room, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer, please. God, grant me serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you. Hey guys, I have one more thing. I have a big book. The first person to come up here and needs a big book, it's yours, free. Anybody need a big book? Who said it? You got it. Thank you. Too big. I gave it. It's gone.
Also, there are, hey,